Our workshop down in Waipawa, Central Hawke's Bay, we have two bat makers, myself and Toby, who make all the bats, and from there we ship them out to all over the world. So 90% of our bats go overseas, and we do about 1,800 bats a year. We actually buy our timber in from England as a raw material, so we actually have a raw block of wood, and then we take it from there. We've worked out what the specification of bat is that we need to make, so I'll go and I'll select the bit of wood. We'll then take it through a few stages to actually get it to a product that is actually ready for use. So it goes through a stage where it's cut down to size a bit more, then it's pressed, then we go on to the stage where we fit the handle, so we have to cut the V joint. The handle's glued in, then you'll take it onto the bench and start carving it with the draw knives, use the planes, the spoke shaves, the rasp, and then sand it to shape and finish it, polish it, put the labels on, and then you're ready to go. It's one of those crafts that you really, you have a passion for it. And every bat, you really genuinely enjoy making because you know where it's going. You've got a pretty good idea of what's going to be done with it. So yeah, we are a little bit boutiquey in the way that we operate. Generally, we don't see our customers, so we'll talk to you about your height, your build, what sort of shots you play, what sort of wickets you play on, those sorts of things, so that we can then build up a really good idea as to what you are about as a cricketer. And then from that, we can actually advise pretty accurately what bat specification would be suitable for you. Bats have come a long way. In the early days, bats tended to be quite skinny. They're sort of slender, rounded shapes they tended to be. But then you go along to the stages where a lot of wood tended to be scalloped out the bat, so you've got a big shape. Now you tend to go to a stage where bat's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger because the willow's just being dried out a lot. So you see a lot of bats breaking at the top level.
Hello, look at this, look at this. One thing you don't expect coming back at you is half a bag. Yeah. Oh.
There goes $500, $600.
But they are hitting the ball a long way. And so that's where it's sort of getting to the point where that needs to be addressed, I think, a concept that really, how big is too big. Okay, for example, we've got a bat here. This is one of our standard bats. This is a standard reserve bat, and it's got a nice sort of sweeping sweet spot through it. It's a big bat, but it still has a solid shape through it. Then you go to what's a really big bat these days. I mean, it's those edges that are more than 40mm edges, a good 65 to 70mm spine. Big solid sweet spot, and that's a standard really chunky bat that's on the market these days. There's another one that a bit of fun, you've got a massive bat, and this bat's actually legal. And so it just gives an indication as to where you can go with the bat. This bat here weighs £3 15 ounces. Got 100mm edges. It's a case of how far do you go with the size of the bat, and in my opinion, this is not really the way we should go. The simplest tool is a little device that a bat has to fit through. What I've got here is a perspective gauge that I think is quite simple. It's very straightforward, it's effective to use, and I mean any umpire could have one in their kit. All you do is literally put the gauge through, or put the bat through the gauge and see if it will go through it. And if it goes through it, then it's legal. It's the same in baseball as well, and other sports where things are a little bit more regulated around the actual tool of the trade, as it were. You're not talking about making that tiny. I think it's just about creating a little bit more of a level playing field. You don't need to go and start making it so the batsman can't hit sixes. I think that is part of the game. That's what draws the crowds. People want to see those sorts of things. But I think that possibly, it's just that you won't see quite as many balls hit right out of the park. It's the distance the balls hit will probably just be reined in a little bit. More chance that the fielder on the boundary has to catch it. The bowler's got more of a chance. It just levels out the game a little bit more.